Are we still recording here? Are you still with me? Are you still with me? Alright, got one more piece of mail here, and this is lightweight. I think I know what it is. And I think it's going to be awesome. Oh yeah, I already see it. Before I go any further, I'm just going to cut right to the chase. Pull out the maxi matcher. Let's give that 120. All right. Okay. ECG branded. Six CA7s. Now the EL34s, these should be real fat bottle Sylvania 6 CA7s. Oh yeah, look at that. And indeed, they are. Look at that. Double getter. Fat bottle. Mr. Eddie Van Halen's preference. 6 CA7. Okay. That's like a little bit of seller's mark there. We're going to leave that be for now, just in case there's a problem and I have to go back. I don't want to mess with his markings. Although this fellow who I bought these from, we're getting to be friends. We've done a lot of business since we met recently. So far, he's only served me well. Now he's testing stuff on an Amplitrex and a TV7, so they're different than mine. Oh, this is just... Okay, I'm going to stop this. Okay, I had a little glitch with the other phone there, so I stopped both cameras for a second. I don't think we actually lost much. I think we just ran out of space, and it's getting a little hot. And today is just a bad day for technology. So I got these in here. Gosh, I really should have heated those up while I was doing that, but let's turn this on and get those warmed up. So we're testing some Sylvania 6 CA7s. These are ECG Phillips branded. Six CA7 fat bottles. The American EL34s. These are beam pentodes. Beam tetrodes? I forget. They're beam tubes. They're beam power tubes. Let's call them beam power tubes. Okay, and we're going to do a little bit of matchy here on the Maxi Matcher. And yep, got my console tape ready to roll. Oh yeah, so let's see. The Maxi Match 2 calls for 68.7s to be tested, probably maxed out at 400 volts and minus 36 volts on the bias. It's going to take a while for it to warm up. I'm not going to obsess over these numbers until they're heated up. So, let's talk about tubes and a plexi. That's what these are going in. They're for my 12 series builds, 12,000 series builds, 1967, 68, 100 watt super lead plexi builds, whatever you want to call them, and one restoration of an original. So, they are an alternate to EL34s, much like you might say 6550s are. They're designed a little bit differently, and the design was actually changed, I believe, in order to get around a patent that Mullard had on the EL34 design. So GE or Sylvania, or perhaps somebody else, I think it was one of those two. I was tempted to say RCA because they invented so many things, but I don't think it was them in this case. They designed a different way of beam forming and controlling the flow of electrons inside the tubes, is the best way to put it, that Mullard was not using. And so in doing so, they created something that is in some ways a much better design, but also inadvertently gave them a somewhat different sound. Better is very subjective when it comes to sound, so I'm not going to say it's a better sound, because gosh, saying anything sounds better than a set of XF2s, Mullards, and a plexi is kind of sacrilege. But you know, at the same time, Jimmy Page, and at times at least, and Eddie Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, like a lot of guys didn't use EL34s in their plexis. Did you know that? So these are a little bit different of a design and a little bit different of a sound, and I don't want to get too much into the technical aspects of how and why, because there's other people that could explain that better. Uncle Doug has a pretty good video on beam power tubes if you want to get nerdy about the hows and whys. Dave Friedman and Pete Thorne did a comparison of output tubes in a plexi that included some 6A7s, I'm almost certain, and you can hear them, in fact, in that recording pretty well. Now, when you're listening to that sort of stuff on YouTube, you got to raise your video quality to the maximum resolution. If you didn't know this, the audio quality and the video quality are tied together in YouTube for videos. So same for this one. If you want to get the most out of my not that great sound and video setup that we have here, then bump the resolution up. This will be published in 4K and maybe even HDR if I can figure out how to render it in that way. It's shooting in that way. Yeah, the Pete Thorne and Friedman output tube comparison is a good one. Check that out. Okay, I'm gonna, let's see, I've got about 5 minutes. I wonder if there's something I can do to monkey around and kill a little bit more time here while those are warming up. What other interesting things are here? 2 boxes. Is that thoroughly exciting? You guys want to see like a giant package of 2 boxes? Well, I could use them with these. However, they're not quite the same size. Now, these are a funny 2 box size. I actually can make something interesting out of this. Watch this. There's a size of 2 box that I have trouble finding presently. And maybe, hey, look at that. Oh, I was gonna say these are made by Avery, like, you know, the label and paper guys, but that might just be the paper wrapped around them. So these little paper cartons here, the vacuum tubes get stored in, and they pop open like that, and they got this little thing inside that kind of helps the tube sit in such a way where it sits firmly. So this was the closest size that I could get to these. Oh, that's pretty dang close. Okay, I guess I did fairly well. It's a little bit taller. Maybe a little bit bigger. But that's pretty close. These themselves are unnecessarily tall though. What I was looking for was something that's the same depth and width dimensions, but shorter. Because I don't know if you can see here, but yeah, those boxes are really tall for those tubes. So why would I want that? Well, 6L6 GCs, 5 AR4s, 6 CA7s. There's a lot of tubes that are kind of fat and stout, yet not so tall. And it's hard to find boxes for those. You get the boxes for like the KT88s and the 6550s that are much wider, and so the tubes are loose, so they don't sit well. You got to stuff them with material in there to get it to work. Okay, I'm gonna just start. We've been going 8 minutes now, so I think that this is probably pretty close to warmed up. Maybe it's not the most accurate reading, but we're gonna go through and do it. So. Okay, we'll do plate current first. So 41.6 milliamps. $35.6 milliamps. See, they just change as you let them sit there, so you gotta kind of just give them the same amount of time. Do your best. The ultimate test is when they're in an amp anyway. Well, this is dropping, isn't it? That seems better. Quite a bit lower than the others. 25.3 milliamps. 39 milliamps. Let's do transconductance. 5.75. 4.79. 3.5. 5? 3.55. 6. Calling it 3.57. It's messing with me. 5.65. Okay, so those are all fairly closely matched, except that guy. The seller's numbers indicate 56, 50, 40, 58. So he got the same result in either his TV7 or his Amplitrex tester. I don't know that these were necessarily sold as closely matched. I don't remember. We've done a lot, and I don't necessarily need them to be, because these aren't my only tubes, so I can pair them up. I do want to make sure that number is stable though, so let me just go back and give it another read here. Yeah, so okay, it seems to have like settled in. I should review these others again. Tube testing is kind of, there's more of an art to it than you might think. Okay, so I don't want an Amplitrax. Well, I do. Whoa, hold your horses. Let's reel that back in. I didn't want an Amplitrax as my primary tube tester for output tubes or matcher, because I believe they operate at a lower voltage. I have to review, but I don't think that they're running it more than like 350, 400 volts. Not that this is running it much more, but this, in fact, this goes to 400 volts. So I feel like maybe they were less. Maybe they were operating at less than that. Because that higher plate voltage is what landed me on this one. A TV7, for instance, I think those are operating at a much lower voltage, like 175, 275, something like that. So those are running at, you know, maybe half of what I might run my tubes in some of my amps. And tubes can match well at 500 volts and match poorly at a lower voltage. So that was kind of important to me. Are we done here? Let's just say 6 CA7s. According to this chart here, it wants to see greater than 4 on the transconductance micromodes. And they all are quite a bit greater than 4, but for that little guy there, let's give him a little wiggle. Maybe he just needs a little wiggle. Need a wiggle, buddy? Need a little pat on the back? Nah. Nah, it's going right to where it was. Okay, we're done. So that's just what it is. I might reach out to the man and see if he has another one. Another 4. But it's still, like, you know, pretty close to new. It'll be a fine partner for a different tube that reach closer to it. And I already have some more coming, and I already have some more in use, so I'm happy. Happy, will be good. Okay, I really don't know if I mean, you don't need to like watch me box these back up or anything. What all is there to say? Iced coffee in the desert, homies. It's good stuff. Trust me.